He didn't lose his life in a single moment. He lost it one quiet decision at a time, each one postponed for later. Most people believe regret comes from bad choices, but sometimes it comes from the choices we never make. Ethan Miller was the kind of man people trusted, not because he spoke loudly or confidently, but because he listened. He nodded, he agreed, he waited. At 42, Ethan lived what many would call a stable life. He worked as a project coordinator at a mid-sized logistics company outside Chicago. The job wasn't exciting, but it paid the bills. His apartment was clean, modest, and quiet. Too quiet some evenings. He had routines: morning coffee from the same mug, commute at the same time, lunch at the same desk, Netflix at night, usually half watched while scrolling on his phone. From the outside, nothing was wrong, but inside, Ethan carried a constant low-level tension, like a question he kept ignoring. It usually arrived at night. He would lie in bed, staring at the ceiling fan as it cut slow circles in the dark. That's when the thoughts came. Is this it? Is this really how my life is supposed to feel? He had dreams once, not unrealistic ones, just human ones. In his late 20s, Ethan wanted to start a small design business. He loved clean layouts, typography, problem solving. He even freelanced for a while after work. People liked his work. A few asked why he didn't do it full time. He always answered the same way: not yet. Later, when he met Claire, he imagined a different future, one with shared dinners, weekend trips, conversations that didn't end in silence. Claire once asked him a simple question over coffee: "Do you ever think about moving somewhere new?" Ethan smiled politely. Maybe someday. Someday became months, months became years. Claire eventually moved on. She said she needed someone who wanted things out loud. Ethan told himself he understood. After that, postponing became his coping strategy. He postponed conversations, he postponed risks, he postponed decisions. He told himself he was being responsible, but deep down something else was happening. Ethan wasn't choosing safety, he was choosing avoidance. Psychologists call it decision paralysis, when the fear of making the wrong choice feels heavier than the cost of making no choice at all. And so the mind delays, convincing itself that waiting is neutral. It isn't. Waiting is a decision. Ethan didn't realize that yet. The email arrived on an ordinary Tuesday. Subject line: quick catch-up. It was from Marcus. Marcus had been Ethan's closest friend in college, the kind of guy who made decisions quickly and lived with the consequences openly. They used to joke that Marcus jumped first and thought later, while Ethan thought forever and never jumped. They hadn't spoken in almost 8 years. Ethan stared at the screen longer than necessary. He thought about replying later, but something nudged him, quiet, unfamiliar. He replied. They met for lunch that weekend. Marcus looked older, but lighter somehow. He talked about starting and failing 2 businesses, about moving cities, about getting married, divorced, and starting again. Not everything had gone well, but Marcus spoke without regret. At one point, Marcus leaned back and asked, "So what about you, man? Still designing on the side?" Ethan hesitated. "Not really," he said. "Life got busy." Marcus nodded slowly. "Funny thing," he said. "Life always does." Then Marcus said something that stayed with Ethan long after lunch ended. "You know what scares me more than failure?" Marcus said. "Waking up one day and realizing I was careful my whole life, and that was the thing that cost me the most." That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. For the first time in years, the question in his head grew louder. What am I waiting for? The next morning, something unexpected happened. Ethan received notice of a company restructuring. His role wasn't eliminated, but his department was being merged. Fewer responsibilities, less creative input, more automation. It wasn't a disaster, but it was a message. That evening, Ethan opened an old folder on his laptop. Design files, mock-ups, ideas he once believed in. His heart raced, not with excitement, but fear. Starting again meant choosing, and choosing meant risk. He opened the blank document. At the top, he wrote, "What happens if I don't decide?" The answer scared him more than any failure ever had. For the first time, Ethan tried to act. Not dramatically, not recklessly. He updated his portfolio. He reached out to old clients. He blocked 1 hour each night to work. No excuses. But fear doesn't disappear just because you acknowledge it. After 2 weeks, the doubts returned. What if it doesn't work? What if I embarrass myself? What if I'm too late? One night, exhausted, Ethan told himself he'd pause the effort just for now, just until things felt clearer. That pause stretched into months. Work consumed his energy again. The restructuring finalized. The routine returned. Marcus texted once. Any updates? Ethan typed, deleted, typed again. Still figuring things out. Marcus didn't reply. Another year passed. Ethan turned 44. At a routine checkup, his doctor mentioned elevated stress markers. Nothing urgent, just a warning. You need to pay attention to this, the doctor said. Stress accumulates quietly. That word, quietly, stuck with him, because that's how Ethan's life was changing, quietly. No collapse, no crisis, just slow erosion. He watched colleagues younger than him move forward, new roles, new paths. He congratulated them sincerely, then went home to silence. He began to notice something unsettling. He wasn't just postponing decisions anymore. He was postponing feeling. Excitement felt dangerous. Hope felt risky. Desire felt irresponsible. So he lived in neutral, safe, controlled, small. Years later, Ethan attended Marcus's father's funeral. They spoke briefly. Marcus looked tired now, real tired. Before they parted, Marcus said softly, "Life doesn't wait for clarity, you know?" Ethan nodded, but clarity never came. Ethan is 58 now. He still works, same company, different title, same feeling. He tells people he's content. Sometimes that's even true. But late at night, when the house is quiet and the past feels close, he thinks about that blank document, that question he once wrote. What happens if I don't decide? He knows the answer now. Nothing dramatic happens. That's the danger. No alarms, no final warnings, no obvious mistakes, just a life shaped by delay. Psychologically, postponement feels safe because it protects us from immediate pain. But over time, it creates a deeper loss, the loss of agency, momentum, and identity. Ethan didn't fail at his dream. He simply never committed to it. And that became the defining decision of his life. The hardest truth isn't that time runs out. It's that time decides for us when we refuse to decide ourselves. Somewhere in your life, there's a decision you keep pushing forward, waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect confidence, the perfect sign. But what if the cost of waiting is higher than the cost of trying? And years from now, when you look back at this moment, will you remember the choice you made or the one you postponed forever?